The level of ignorance and stupidity in those sentences, I think, would make a GCSE student blush. Shortly after that letter was published, Miss Abbott then issued a statement about Miss Abbott in which Miss Abbott said she wished to wholly and reservedly withdraw my remarks and disassociate myself from them, i.e. Miss Abbott. The errors arose in an initial draft being sent, she wrote, but there is no excuse, and I wish to apologise for any anguish caused. She continued, racism takes many forms, and it is completely undeniable that Jewish people have suffered its monstrous effects, as have Irish people, travellers, and many others. So much for long-held principled beliefs. What is she trying to say? Is she trying to say that a black person in a majority white country can never hide their blackness? That someone's Jewishness is not as easily visible as someone's blackness or Asianness. Race is not a black and white story, though. The sociologist and author Robin Autry wrote, race is an elastic social category, not a fixed biological one. Jewish identity and experience are not synonymous with whiteness, and Jewish people have historically been treated as a distinct racial group. Miss Abbott now seems to acknowledge that therefore race is not quite as black and white as she makes out. So what is she trying to say? And I think importantly, why is she trying to say it? I think I understand what she's trying to say. I disagree with her, but I think she's trying to make the point that in a predominantly white country, if you're black, you're going to be seen as other far more regularly as a white Jewish person might be seen as other. But that's not the story, is it? Because what she's then going on to say is that then is the only form of racism. And I guess the other question is then why? Why is she trying to say it? 0345 6060 973 84850 to text. You can tweet at LBC. Let's get straight to your calls. Tony's in Lewisham. Tony.
Yeah, hi there.
Hi. What's she trying to say?
Well, I can't speak for what she's trying to say. I don't know what's in her mind. But I read like a couple of sentences of what she wrote on the BBC website, and immediately, it resonated with me, and I knew what she was making without reading the whole article. Because as a black man, I know straight away that, well, from how growing up, I saw racism as if a white person is prejudiced against you because of your skin color. Mm-hmm. I can draw a very good example of that. If you have 10 people in one room, everyone's dressed the same, got low-cut haircuts, all male. Yep. Nobody speaks. Yep. If 9 of those people are white and 1 person is black, then you'll see the difference. Yep. Now, 9 of those people who are white, right, there could be a mixture of Jewish people. But there could be a mixture of traveller people. Yep. There could be a mixture of Irish people.
I see that.
You wouldn't know until they speak. So that's the clear distinction. Now, I know... I don't know the exact definition of racism in the dictionary, but from my point of view as a black man, that's the difference between you standing here looking a mile down the road and seeing a black face, and you standing here looking a mile down the road and seeing a white face and not knowing whether they're Jewish, Irish, or a traveller.
Okay, so I think what you're saying, what Diane Abbott is saying, is racism really comes down to visibility. That if you look different, that is the driving force behind racism. That racism is therefore literally a matter of black and white. And the answer to that is, no, it isn't.
Okay, I would say that what Irish people, what Jewish people go through, especially what the Jews went through in Nazi Hitler, Hitler's not Germany. Yep. It was a bad thing. And I would say that's down to prejudice, because I wasn't around that time. But how could you distinguish somebody who's Jewish or somebody who's not Jewish?
Well,
you couldn't, unless I don't know what the actual term is. Is it Hasidic Jews who wear the the hat and, and
You
the hair.
could be an outwardly religious Jew, in which
Yeah.
case you would be quite distinguishable, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah,
But
but if you didn't, and you had two men in the suit, and one was Jewish and one wasn't, how would you distinguish? Obviously, they're known by names and stuff and things like that. So the point I'm making, there is not a visible, clear distinction, because if the police is driving by, right, and they see me walking, they see a black man. If they drive by and see somebody else walking, they see a white man. And then when they speak to them, then they'll find out whether they're Jewish, whether they're traveller, whether they're Irish.
Sure.
That is a very, very, very clear distinction.
It is.
And maybe the terminology or how we describe racism, it should change, like to distinguish between the two facts of what I'm talking about.
Let me try this another way, because Tony, what you've described there, I think, is I can't argue with that. You're absolutely right. You are right to say that you are more likely to be visibly black than you are to be visibly Jewish, particularly if you're a non-religious Jew in a majority white country. The difference is, in the same way that you can't, you would never not be able to be black, right? You will always be black. In the same way, a Jewish person born to a Jewish mother will always be Jewish. It doesn't matter about their religion. They could be a non-religious Jew. They will always be Jewish by dint of their birth. And that's where it differs from prejudice. That's where we go into racism, because they can't ever not be Jewish.
Okay, I understand that, and I'm diminishing what Jewish people has gone through and continue to go through. But all I'm saying is the point, I think, resonated with me, what she was saying, is that there's a clear distinction between the type of racism that I go through and other black people go through, and what a Jewish person could go through.
What you're
I've worked.
Yeah, but what you're describing is that you look different. But that's not a revelation to anybody. That's not new. It's not thoughtful. It's not thought-provoking. It's that person looks different to that person. A 2-year-old can make that distinction. I'm not sure Diane Abbott is attempting to just make that distinction. She's also trying to say, in the first draft of this letter, that therefore that is the only form of racism, and that's clearly not true.
Okay, but the very clear point in Nazi Germany, right? The Nazi Germans and the Jews in Nazi Germany at the time, they were both white. Am I correct or wrong?
In majority, yeah, I would guess so.
Yeah.
I don't know that you had many black Jews in Nazi Germany at the time.
Yeah. So that I mean, I don't see. I think, and she's had to retract to what she said, because you saw there was a clear there was an outcry over people not happy with what she's saying.
But Tony, you're only viewing this through the prism of colour, and the whole point about racism is it's not just about colour.
Okay, it's not just about colour, but are you black or are you white?
I'm white.
Okay, so seeing things through my eyes as a black man, I see about colour because that's my experience that I live. And that many other black people, that's our experience that we live. So we see it as black and white. Keir Starmer cannot see it as black and white.
No.
Other people who are
you
out
might see it, sir,
not
as
see
black
it as
and
black and white because that's not their lived experience.
Oh, God, I hate that phrase so much. Do you know why I hate that phrase so much? Because that phrase is being used, the lived experience phrase, as a method through which to delegitimize the racism that is meted out on other white people, in this case, Jewish people. Your lived experience...
No, I'm not
hang on a sec, let me finish my point. Tony, let me finish my point. Your lived experience, sir, is I'm not going to, of course, try and argue against the fact that you will have experienced racism in this country as a black man because you are black. But the fact that your experience of racism is contained solely through the colour of your skin does not mean to say that no other person, based on who they were born to and their background, can experience racism.